This is my new walk-in wardrobe, and it's only a small room. It's just over 2 meters in each direction, and I'm just finished painting it. So the next job is to assemble the wardrobes and bring them in. And I've got two big ones and I've got two small ones. And I've just had a thought. The two big ones, I think now, are not going to fit. So when I say they're not going to fit, I don't mean that they're not going to fit in the room, but the intention was to build them outside and then bring them into the room. And I've got a feeling now that that's not going to be possible. Before I tell you why, I'd just like to show you what I'm trying to achieve. And this is the Ikea website, where there's a Pax wardrobe planning type guide that you can use. And if you're thinking about using Pax wardrobes from Ikea, this is a really good system very quickly to see what you're in for. So all I'm going to do is add a few frames in the colour that I've got. So I've got two 58cm deep wardrobes, 2 foot deep, which will take a shirt sideways. And then in the other direction, I've got them shallower, just so I've got a little bit more room to move. And very quickly, you can see how it starts coming together. Just give me a second and I will populate these wardrobes. Okay, so that's the sort of thing I'm looking at. So I've got two large wardrobes on the right and then two smaller ones facing me. But when you design it like this, by default you end up with this massive room, which isn't really the case. So let me now change this room to the actual dimensions. So there you go, that's near enough what I'm looking at. Essentially, that's what I've got. And if I put it into this sort of perspective, that's looking as if you're coming through the door. So you've got wardrobes on your right, the deep ones on your right, a couple of shallow ones straight in front of you, and the window to the left. So now I've put the right dimensions in, it does make it look a lot more congested. There's not that much room, but it's a walk-in wardrobe. So really the main thing is just to get in there and use the wardrobes. Now the problem I have with the wardrobe, let's say this is my wardrobe. It's 1 meter wide. It's 58 centimeters or 580 deep. Diagonally, it's, hang on a second, square root equals 2.57 meters. So diagonally, it's 2.57 meters, which is a little bit more than my floor to ceiling height. So what I can't do is make this wardrobe, push it through the door and then lift it up, because diagonally it suddenly clashes with the ceiling. Now you might well be saying, why don't you do it this way, because that diagonal is less. Well, I've got to get it through the door and the wardrobe is 1 meter wide and my door isn't. So I can't put it through the door like this. I've got to put it like this. And if you can imagine, this is bigger than the room. The room's only 2 meters, so it's not even into the room. It doesn't matter how I sort of try to play with it, I just can't get it in. I can't make it outside, which means my only solution is to make it in the room standing up. Hey. To be fair to Ikea, they do include this vertical assembly option in their manual. It all depends on your ceiling height. I fix as much as I can outside the room before taking the first wardrobe in. This is the 2.36 meter high Pax wardrobe, the tallest they do, so each piece is quite large and heavy. So isn't that interesting? The very first two bits of wardrobe I need to put together, I'm going to modify. And in theory, this sort of kick plate should go at the front here, and the base comes at this level. So it just sits just behind the front of the base. However, I really want to put on another one of these that will connect the two wardrobes together. So I was wondering how I was going to do that. And ironically, they've actually drilled another 2 holes, exactly 18mm further back, that I can't see in the instructions what that's for. It doesn't even mention these 2 holes. If I put it in that one, That gives me a bit of room in the front here to maybe get a 12mm sheet in that will still look quite nice with the bottom of the wardrobe coming out here. There's no mention in the booklet why these other two holes are here. I wonder if they've done that on purpose. So you can actually offset the bottom sort of kick plate a little bit back and connect the two wardrobes together. I hope this works. Just lightly tighten those up because it's at the wrong angle at the moment. That is not 90 degrees, so I don't want to tighten it too much. Only once I've got the back on do I really want to tighten it so it's all nice and square. If I tighten it now, it's going to want to fall over on me. And this is all decidedly wibbly wobbly and a bit dodgy. In all of my DIY career, I've never ever assembled a wardrobe upright. I'm sure these backs have got thinner. This is ridiculously thin. How the heck am I going to hold that up? This is like trying to do three things at the same time. No. Oh, how the heck? One. Okay, don't go anywhere. Stay. Okay, that is hanging. Now this is more like it. Only once the thin hardboard is tacked onto the back of this carcass does this whole thing get some sort of rigidity, which means that I can move it around without it collapsing. Loads of room. The second large wardrobe is easier to assemble now I've been through the learning curve. However, there is less space in this room now, which brings a different set of challenges. Depth-wise, this room is around 50mm or 2 inches deeper than these two frames. So I have enough clearance on either side just to shuffle the second one into its position without too many problems. Once these are permanently fixed in place, I will be adding both vertical and horizontal strips to the front edges to make them look more built in, and that will be on a future video. With these two big ones in place, I can now build the smaller two. Although this is essentially a repetition of what I've just done, I still use the assembly manual to make sure that I get every one of the fixings into the exact holes, because there's lots of them. Having learnt from experience that this is quite important for the whole thing to work. All the dowels I add a little bit of glue to, just to give it added strength. With the two smaller frames complete, I take the opportunity to clamp them both together and take off the vertical centre section at the bottom so I can eventually fit a continuous horizontal strip as a kick plate across the two wardrobes, making them look a little bit more bespoke. It's easier to do this with both of them lying on the floor before I take them into the room. As these smaller carcasses are narrower at 750 wide, they will just about clear the ceiling, like the bigger ones didn't. Lovely. And as is traditional, before I put the last one in place, I leave a calling card for whoever in the future updates this room. So they are in, and just having a quick look, all looks pretty close to where it should be as well, which I'm happy about. In this direction, I've got less than 5mm to play with, which is cutting it a little bit tight, to be honest with you, seeing that I actually designed this room big enough for these wardrobes. I can't remember exactly how much extra I added, but it definitely wasn't 3 or 4mm. It's definitely more than that. Anyway, they're in. I didn't have to cut them down or modify them, which I'm very pleased at. Obviously, I've still got all the fit out to do. I've got strips on the front, strips on the bottom. I've got the lighting to do, all of that sort of stuff. So if you're keen to see that, you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks, I'm afraid. And I'm going to stop at this point because I've got some flooring to do as well. I will see you next time.